doing enough to curb the rising cost of housing in San Francisco, in the Bay Area, and in California, because he's governor now. And he is way too cozy with the housing industry, the real estate industry, those who profit from housing and expensive housing at that. So while Ron DeSantis may be an idiot nutjob fascist who should be not even considered for public office and certainly higher public office, Gavin Newsom has problems. And they're not about poop. They're about people and finding them a place to live. And so you should consider that. You should think about that. Also, a little bit of good news on the San Francisco front that doesn't have to do with poop. Apparently, crime, theft specifically, is going down. This from the San Francisco Chronicle. While videos of brazen lootings of San Francisco chain stores continue to rack up views on social media, several new reports, as well as fresh statistics from over the Thanksgiving weekend, suggest the city's crackdown on organized shoplifting rings may be paying off. Yay! Larceny cases over Thanksgiving weekend were down about 75% from last year, with 100 reported thefts compared with 401 in 2022, according to the San Francisco Police Department. My parents live near San Francisco, and every time I go to visit them, they tell me, because they will watch the reports on these cable news channels and in other places about all the horrible crime in San Francisco. Oh, don't go into the city. Oh, you're going to get your car broken into. Horrible things are going to happen to you. And sure, there's crime in a major American city, and something like that could happen, but not more so in San Francisco than in any other place. And if you're careful about where you go and where you park, then you can minimize your risk. So don't worry about traveling to San Francisco. Furthermore, as we see, the problem is getting better. And second of all, again, the problem is how we're treating people here. And this comes out from a quote later in the story. Rick Karp, who owns Cole Hardware, which has 4 stores in San Francisco and 1 in Oakland, characterized the level of theft as same old, same old. So he's not seeing a difference. Quote, we don't get the wholesale shoplifting in our stores. They're a hardware store, so that makes sense. They're not luxury goods. But we have lots and lots of shoplifting, and it is from all segments and all demographics. We don't get the wholesale shopping in our stores, but we have lots and lots of shoplifting, and it is from all segments and all demographics, he said. We have a lot of stuff locked down and in security cases with hooks and locks on them, but whatever is loose can go and often does go. In other words, it gets stolen. He added, did Rick Karp of Cole Hardware, and this is the key quote to me, there are more folks living paycheck to paycheck or down and out in the streets, and more of those issues are coming to the stores. And that really is key to me. This crime or non-crime, the poop or non-poop, it doesn't exist in a vacuum. Homelessness isn't just coming out of nowhere. Crime isn't just coming out of nowhere. Mental health crises, people going on shooting rampages, the life expectancy decreasing, that isn't just coming out of nowhere. It's coming out of more folks are living paycheck to paycheck or down and out in the streets. In the case of the stores of San Francisco, more of those issues are coming into the stores. More people are under more pressure from a system that doesn't work for them. They have to work harder for less money, and so more of them are homeless, and more of them become drug addicted, and more of them engage in unhealthy habits to cope with being in a situation like that, whether they have a home or they don't have a home. But we're talking ultimately about the same problem. We're talking about a system in America which does not work for more and more people. And so when you hear these scattered different problems, poop on the streets of San Francisco, homeless people in New York or Los Angeles, deaths from drug overdoses, the life expectancy going down in the United States of America, more people with debt, more evictions. This is all part of the same problem. And I guess the biggest thing that you can do is talk to someone about it. Don't be alone with it. Talk to someone that you know about it and at least commiserate and say, doesn't this suck? What do you think we can do about it? I think that's the biggest power that we have. I say a lot of the time on this show, organize. I don't know exactly how to organize. I'm not an organizer. But we can start by talking to other people and staying connected to other people, because it's often difficult to do that, especially post-COVID. It's very difficult. Stay in touch. Talk to someone. Talk to someone. Ask them, how are you getting through this? How can I help you? And I think that's how organizing starts. We're going to talk to you up next. 202-656-6271 is the number where you can call or message us. And I talked a couple of episodes ago about a station in San Francisco, California, yes, that is no longer a great news talk station. We're going to talk to a listener who heard that conversation and wants to respond. That's up next. I'm Beowulf Rockland. This is Facepalm America. We shall return. This is Facepalm America, facepalmamerica.com. I'm Beowulf Rockland. And again, you can reach us anytime you like at 202-656-6271. You can message us or you can phone us. And we have with us Bob in San Jose. Welcome to Facepalm America. Thanks so much for being here, Bob.
Well, thank you, Beowulf, for the invitation. I have to say, I am a unicorn. And that's because I've been in front of the microphone as a disc jockey for a couple of years, and then I moved to behind the microphone being an engineer, and I've actually made a living as a broadcast engineer all the way until COVID happened, which was not too long ago. So I count myself very fortunate that I landed in a place where my talents matched and my interests and abilities matched the needs. And so I was never the person looking at my watch counting the minutes until I could go home.
Well, you heard us talking a couple of weeks ago about KGO. We were speaking with John Rothman, as we do on Mondays here, and we were lamenting the demise of the great KGO, which for so many years, so many decades, was the great news talk radio station of the West Coast. And then just towards the end of last year, they switched to a sports betting format, which was very depressing to a lot of longtime KGO listeners. And myself and John Rothman were talking that over, and we were also talking about Gene Burns. And the first time that KGO attempted to switch formats back in 2011, he went off the air and became ill soon after that, and a couple of years later passed away. But there was no one better than him at shifting easily, transitioning so smoothly from a talk segment into an advertisement. And so I played a piece that I found on YouTube that John had mentioned, with Gene reading the Declaration of Independence in his inimitable voice. And so you're kind of responding to that.
Absolutely. I heard that program,
right,
or that podcast, and I was very impressed because Gene, I guess you could say, goes back in time, even before my time.
Yeah.
I actually got started in broadcast radio in 1964. But Gene goes back further, and I know there was a point in time when AM radio served a very real need.
Yeah.
It was the source of information for a low population density, large area country.
That's right. And it's still, there are parts of the country, and I know friends of mine who have worked at small radio stations in rural parts of the country where it really is still an essential part of the community, where they do the regular farm reports, and where internet service is not good, they just have sort of radio classifieds. There's a friend of mine
absolutely.
who was in I think at the time he was in southern Illinois, and he was just making announcements about people who were calling in to want to sell something or give a classified, and then people would call in and respond. And that was the source of information. Still, even in 2023, people do that. And so it still serves that need in a lot of places, just not in the big cities and not in places where the internet works really well.
Well, one thing that we have to understand is there is a difference between AM radio in the daytime and AM radio at night.
Mm-hmm.
AM radio in the daytime goes maybe 30 miles, 20 miles, 50 miles if it's a higher power station, and that's it. And there are many stations to this day that operate only during the daylight hours, because at night, when the sun goes down, the nature, the atmosphere above us changes a bit, and we get what's called skip. And that means you can hear stations literally from hundreds of miles away, as if they were next door.
Yeah. Because
they're bouncing off the ionosphere and bouncing off the surface of the earth. And you can hear in the Midwest, where I was born and raised, at night, especially if you got away from the power lines where there was electrical noise, with a car radio, you could park the car, some distance away from the power lines, turn the ignition off, and turn the radio knob, and you would not find a bare spot on the dial.
And that's why the great not Gene Burns, but Bill Wattenberg would say for many, many years when he did his program on KGO 10 p.m. to 1 a.m., that he was live to the Western world because of that very phenomenon that you're talking about.
Right. Those stations, many of them were the Clear Channel stations. KGO was Clear Channel on the western half of the United States. KNBR is Clear Channel on the whole continent of North America. There are other stations, WBZ from Boston, WLS, WGN from Chicago. There are a number of them, and you could literally hear voices and music from across the country, and it was truly a national thing at night. In fact, WSM in Nashville, Grand Ole Opry, guess what? That was the entertainment, and it was entertainment for people that were hundreds or even 1,000 miles away from Nashville.
I remember at night in the winter being able from Southern Oregon to get a KOA in Denver, which was it's just incredible.
I won't discuss what those call letters stand for, but it has to do with a fight between the owners of the station and I believe the city council of Denver.
Really? Okay. Well, we're not FCC regulated, so
you can fill in what the KOA stands for.
Okay. No. Tell us. Tell us, because we're not regulated by the FCC, so it's okay.
Yeah. Well, but no, I really kind of, being a broadcaster is kind of burned into my skull. There are certain words you just don't say on the radio.
All right.
And when you see a microphone, you assume it's live.
Fair enough.
Around a TV station or a radio station, any room with a microphone in it could be live. And
it is very wise to remember that, and there have been excellent broadcasters who have fallen, who have forgotten that. I remember there was a broadcaster who was on KGO on the weekends for a while named Carell, and he was broadcasting, I believe, from his home in Los Angeles where he was based, and he was hearing something over the news wire during the top of the hour break, and he was on KGO, and he heard something